The next station is Shibuya.
Am I really going to give this season this score? Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is a complete tonal change from the previous season. What was once a pretty straightforward shonen with solid humor, characters, and action scenes turns into a full-blown tragedy with legendary fights. This season covers the two best stretches of the series, and my god, it felt like 23 weeks of crack. The season starts with the hidden inventory, aka Gojo's flashback, grabbing this really fun character and turning him into a complete and full-fledged character with a huge moral conflict to him, and his best friend and one of the main villains of the story, Geto. In JJK0, Geto was just a funny racist, and his character really just amounted to that, but in Hidden Inventory, we truly see the progression into madness through its fullest extent. You get to really feel for him. Unlike Gojo, he really is the one that's trying to do good. He's trying to do what's right despite not being fully sold by it. Seeing his turn in episode 5 is sad because we truly feel this breakup between two best friends. I swear, I got so addicted with these two for months. This isn't even talking about the last and possibly the character with the biggest domino effect in the entire story. This guy, Toji. Let's see. Unemployed, gambling addict, a deadbeat, human trafficker, mutilation, and beefing with a 5-year-old. If you ignore all that, he's honestly a pretty good guy. I can't say much about Toji without spoiling the story, but he works so well as an anomaly rejected by the Jujutsu world that is still just as competent, if not stronger than most sorcerers or cursors. This is all just in Hidden Inventory. But what about Shibuya? You remember how it was like seeing Goku turn Super Saiyan for the first time? How you felt seeing Rock Lee smack the funny out of Gaara? You remember that feeling in your heart of sheer excitement, just so much raw emotion? Well, Shibuya has that through an entire fucking season. With some of the best drama and characterization blended into its fights that most shonen wish they could apply as smoothly as this series does. Jujutsu Kaisen tells an epic, complete of complex characters and thoughts through a journey of extreme high-octane action. Even though Itadori's last fight might be narratively the strongest, everyone I know has a different favorite, and that's the type of magic this arc has. The entire setup is genius, and the main thematic of the moral struggle between selfish and selflessness, and just how rotten the Jujutsu world is. The selfish stand atop from those that put others first, with what are arguably the most engaging villains in the series all in one place, even clashing against each other. The animation filled to the brim with references and stylized animation that you don't see in most shonen anymore. Shibuya is a constant chaos, and I can't wait to experience this arc again on a binge. The cliffhanger is so insane, I went ahead and read through the entire manga. And all I can say is that despite some hiccups here and there, the side characters in the killing games are even better than the ones in Shibuya. And some of the best fights in the series take place after Shibuya too. That includes what is possibly my favorite fight in the entire story. The manga is definitely stacked with flaws, but it is so unique in its power and different characters. It's the same essence Dragon Ball gives me. It's not perfect, but I'm loving it. I can only hope the animators get some rest and the talent of this production carries into the calling games, because by god, I need to see them go crazy for Akari.
But is it anime of the year though?
Despite my criticisms of Bleach, it's nowhere near the worst shonen in the market. Despite this not being a series I particularly hate, Demon Slayer had one underwhelming fucking season. Starting out with the road to Swordsmith. Not the actual Swordsmith arc, but the road to it. What does that mean? It means a really easy way for studios to rip you off and make money. 4 episodes stitched together with 3 separate credit scenes, because of course they couldn't even remove that. Though it was a lot of fun seeing the spectacle on the big screen and seeing the new season kickstart in more interesting ways than what the season would actually be, because the Swordsmith village is so goddamn boring. The constant tragic flashbacks were all too similar to what we're used to, and Mitsuki's, which is different, is somehow even more underwhelming. The final episode had me actually invested in the decision Tanjiro had to make, until it didn't matter because it's Demon Slayer and everything turns out fine. The villains, Hashiras, were lame, and it's overall just carried by okay animation. Bleach 1000 Year Blood War. the separation. I made a video about how underwhelming I found the first half of Bleach's new season, a complete step down from the first season in both narrative and animation. And even though the last couple of episodes of this season were the strongest with the interesting lore Bleach has to offer, so much of it was genuinely so boring because of its constant focus on fights and just general shonen stuff. This season's just a clutter of fights where only one or two will stand out from the rest. This season removed any interesting standpoint the story had. Bringing back everyone's Bankai just meant going back to the classic, trump card, I win combat the series is known for, and despite a lot of really cool powers, none of them were used very creatively. Like, this guy has the power of imagination, and the most creative thing he does is pull out a lot of guns. Like, come on. I honestly have no expectations for the next season. The studio's clearly not giving the animators enough time to work on these seasons, and with many of the staff that made part 1 stand out no longer present, the future's looking grim. Kaguya-sama Season 1 reminded me how much I love this series, and proving once again that it's the only slice of life that doesn't bore me with time. I've read like 100 chapters of the manga, and I'm now experiencing the phenomenal English dub. The same creator as Kaguya-sama had his other big anime premiered, Oshinoko, and not gonna lie, it's a mixed bag for me. Although the first episode was one of the best episodes I've ever seen, it was hard for me to be invested in the latter half of the season. Every time Aqua walks into the scene, female characters melt into boy crazy girls for some reason. Pluto, from my king, Naoki Urasawa, as expected, was really good. Gasik is one of Urasawa's best characters, and the mystery kept me super intrigued to keep watching. I will say that the story could feel a bit repetitive, and even though with some characters that didn't have that interesting of a presence. I think one of Urasawa's biggest strengths is his ability to make every single character, even the smallest side characters, feel so fleshed out. But the characters here don't really have the time to develop nowhere nearly as much. Many of the robots feel very one note, which is so unlike Urasawa. Still, the themes of war here are really well portrayed and even made me cry every now and then. Trigun Stampede was really good all the way through. It has easily the best animation I've seen in anime with incredible CGI. I love anything Studio Orange touches, and this is their best product so far. This was definitely a huge year for Attack on Titan. With the finale of the series in Attack on Titan, the final season, Part 3, Part 1 and 2. Jesus, what a title. Before I went ahead and watched it, I actually noticed I never actually finished the final season Part 2. I only saw the first half, which was incredible, but the direction of the middle part was so stale, with most conversations just feeling like panel after panel after panel, adapted with no creativity to it. But the story really carries through to make this one enticing story. The first 3 episodes are 3 of the greatest moments in the entire series, back to back, each filled with so much emotion, character, and weight. I can't help but eat that shit up. Since we're here, we might as well talk about, well, the ending of the series. The first 10 minutes of this special are single-handedly my favorite moment of the series, and a moment with such insane weight and emotion. It really shows just how evil in a morbidly real way this character we know and love truly is. Saying they're doing all this for the sake of their loved ones, the sheer chaos around this moment really affects my enjoyment of the rest of the episode because the narrative is nowhere near as strong as these first 10 minutes. Now, me personally, I'm not the greatest fan of the ending. I honestly found it incredibly disappointing, and then the extra pages just somehow made it worse for me. And you know, despite the ending of this complicated drama ending in a pretty standard big boss fight type of situation, the animation was stellar and the emotion was there. And you know, as a manga reader that didn't really like the ending, I'm honestly fine with it here. I still, for the life of me, do not care about Mikasa. She is such a dull character, and the story can't decide what narrative to do with her, especially when it comes to Ymir. But everything else was generally fine. I started kind of digging the extra pages too. Isayama, you get to live. Hopefully that new one-shot about Levi won't be too bad, but that will be for the next year. Not gonna lie, Vinland Saga was a bore at first, but once everyone got together, things started to quickly build up. Ashla's character's conclusion was one of my favorites, and the final episode is one of the best episodes I've ever watched. Now, that didn't just find itself to be my favorite anime of the year, but my favorite anime of all time, and one of my favorite pieces of anything I've ever seen. Wow, I am speechless. Thorfinn's growth and his relationships feel so real. There are so many aspects of this arc that I specifically want to talk about. The wage discrepancy and abuse that Thorfinn and the rest of the slaves go through. The change and growth for our main character and his constant struggle to reconnect with his past, yet trying to make amends with the way he lives. Thorfinn going to Valhalla, I have no enemies, his encounter with Canute. There are moments here that feel so unfair to our character, but it's just a part of the message that the world shouldn't be like this. Vinland Saga's take of Vinland and it being almost a utopia place without war is really interesting, because though it's beautiful for Thorfinn's character to want to build instead of destroy, to bring some semblance of peace in this world, we know that that's not what ends up happening to Vinland. So my question is, how will this story give a positive resolution while sticking to reality? I don't know, but at the point we're in right now, leaving Thorfinn with a resolved resolution, reconnecting with every paternal figure he's had, I can see the passion and connection the author has to the story. A story about fatherhood and what we leave behind.